Guys, I hit the button. I hit the button, and it worked.
There,
Hello,
you hit the
everybody.
button.
Yay!
Hello.
Welcome to the Cubist, everybody. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and I am not home. I am in a strange apartment in a strange city, far from everything I know and love. But we are here nonetheless. We're going to talk Gen Con. So I am joined by Mr. Brandon Kemp. Hello, Brandon.
Hello, Bill Corey of the Dells. How are you?
Yes, I'm up in Wisconsin Dells, home
Bill
of water
of
slide
the Dells.
and a small portion of Eric Buscemi's blood. And yeah, anyway, yes, hi, I'm here. Also, the worst retiree in the history of board gaming media, Mr. Chris Ray is here. Hi, Chris.
I'm back.
Yeah, you made it, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, that's
How long did, about that?
it feels like that, yeah.
I don't think it was much longer than that. You were recording Capital City Critics or whatever it was, like a week or two after you told us.
That was not him. That was Chris Wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. All right, that's fair. I thought you were Chris Wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're just Chris who is wrong.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, never mind. Sorry. All right. So, anywho, welcome, chat room. Hi, we missed you last week. Sorry that we had to cancel at the last minute. It was just a weird scheduling day, and I felt like crap. So, but we're back, and we're going to talk Gen Con. So, 2 out of 3 of us went, right? Chris was there, Brandon was there, I was not. So, I am going to be sort of your point of entry guy that doesn't know anything and is just kind of keeping up from what he's heard and keeping an eye on the Geek Preview page on BGG. So, hang in there, and then ask all the questions you want. I can't type worth a damn on this particular computer because of the way that it's laid out, but I can read. So if you have any questions, I will be the guy watching the chat room tonight and just kind of asking questions to these two heathens. So that way I know what's going on. So here we go. Let's start. First off, I want to divide up the big thing that it feels like everybody talks about when you talk about Gen Con is the new releases, right? Because as far as US releases, this was the big weekend for US publishers and even some overseas publishers to make a debut. You're either going to release games, it feels like, at Gen Con, at Essen, or something, right? But that something is like a distant third. Most people, it feels like whatever their big release, they're angling for one of those other two.
Yeah.
So this one had a bunch of big releases, and so we're gonna categorize these into 4 categories. I want to start with hits. So I want each of you to talk about one game that was a big hit for you, like something that we all knew was going to be good and then ended up actually being good. So I tell you what, Chris, since it's been the longest since you've done any board gaming media, why don't we start? Why don't we start with you?
So I'm in love with this game. I played it 4 times yesterday. It's called Blue Lagoon. It's from Blue Orange and Reiner Knizia. I was a big fan of the game Through the Desert back in the days. This is pretty similar. It's a little bit more point salady than Through the Desert. And you play it over 2 phases. So the first phase is sort of setup plus points, and the second phase is executing on the setup plus even more points. But it's a really cool game. It seemed like it was selling pretty well at Gen Con, and I had heard pretty positive things going into Gen Con. I adore it. I think it's. I think Reiner Knizia had a really amazing show. He had 3 pretty hot games there, and this one's my favorite. Now, this one, a lot of Gen Con releases are delayed by a few weeks. My understanding is you could get this one on Amazon yesterday for like $25.
Yep, it was on sale through the whole show.
Yeah, it's really an excellent game. Like I said, I played it with several different groups yesterday, and they all really liked it. I'd say of my Kansas City game day yesterday, that was the biggest hit.
Very cool. Very cool. I feel like Reiner has, and chat room, I'm going to try my best to post links to each of the BGG pages as people talk about them over the span of the show. So if you're watching this, even if you watch it later, if you turn on the chat, you should be able to see the links pop up just right after they start getting talked about. I feel like Reiner's design, a lot of his designs sort of function off of the idea of setup early, cash in later, right? And that seems to be a pretty common thread, especially from his older design. So Through the Desert does a little bit of that. Amun-Re, that is almost the entire point of that particular game. Ra has a lot of that, where there's a lot of, you can do lower payoff stuff early, in the form of monuments in order to get really huge payouts at the end of the game. A few other things like that. Tigris and Euphrates, to a lesser extent, does that sort of thing. So I think this is sort of his MO. Does this feel similar to those as far as the flow of like the flow of scoring?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the first part of the game is all about sort of getting your position for the second half of the game, and you could make up even a pretty sizable point deficit in the second half of the game if you play your cards right. So it feels a lot like Through the Desert. The one thing that's missing from Through the Desert is in that game you could capture territory, so there was a little bit of that go element. Here, that's not there. I mean, it's really just spread across the board, place one piece on your turn. Get resources, build lines, connect things. And so, though it definitely has a lineage from Through the Desert, I'd say this is pretty different, but it still has that Reiner Knizia feel.
Okay. So it doesn't necessarily feel like it's the same game.
Yeah.
Just reskinned or whatever. It's different enough that they both warrant a spot in your collection.
Yeah, I dare say, although the scoring is perhaps a little bit wonkier here than in Through the Desert, I dare say this is the easier game for a beginner.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right, so that's Blue Lagoon. Wow, Blue Lagoon from Blue Orange. There's too many blues. Whatever. Yes, Blue Lagoon. Reiner, got it.
Did you play Scarabaya yet, Chris?
I have not. I didn't buy it, so I'm relying on your copy.
Okay. Yep. Okay, we'll play it. It's quick.
See, now that's called a teaser. What you just did there? Because
no, it's not. Just I'm not going to talk about it.
That's what I'm saying. You named a game that you're then probably not going to talk about. So what we're going to do is we're going to chat room. I want you to keep score on this. Okay. I want you to notice the things that Brandon does this with, because he's really good at this. No, this is totally your thing, dude. And I want you to call him out on it in the After Dark show. Get him in the After Dark and we'll make him talk about all this crap he doesn't want to talk about now.
I haven't played Scarabaya yet. I was just curious, and I didn't remember that Chris didn't buy it, so I thought he had.
Yeah, I think most people that went to the show and bought one of them bought both.
Bought both, and some even bought like all three because they had Age of Giants. Blue Orange we could probably talk about later, but they had to have been one of the better booths, I think, as far as sales go. So
yeah, and we'll definitely come back to that. So,
yeah,
very cool. All right, Brandon, what's your hit game? We'll start.
Now, note, I have 29 new games, and only 12 of them have been played so far since.
Only 12.
Only 12 of them. So we don't know. I still haven't played Blue Lagoon. I still have not played Scarabaya. I have not played a lot of these things, but I'm going to talk about Gizmos because I absolutely. We played this. Was it Thursday night? We played it late night. And we had a really good time with it, and Chad in the chat room can attest to that. It's a really fun engine builder, first off, and it uses marbles. So imagine Potion Explosion, the dispenser, cut down to one marble track, okay? And the marbles are energy, and that energy is used to buy cards that you can put in your tableau. And that tableau is going to have different things, your 4 different actions. And when you do different actions, it triggers those cards that are underneath it. So it's just a wonderful little light engine builder that can lead to some really crazy moments, like drawing 15 marbles that you don't need, but yet you do it anyway because it's fun and you can screw everybody else up.
Sure.
Which is what Chad did. It played a little long, I think, for us at 4-player. Gabby and I had a really fun time playing it at 2-player. It's kind of really quick. She go, I go, then all of a sudden those engines start purring and you're doing different things. She was using the research. Is that the term, Chris, where you take the card out of the side and you sit it, you reserve it basically.
Yeah.
So she was taking that and she would basically reserve one, and it caused her to be able to draw all the energy she needed basically, and do all sorts of other things and get victory points. So there's all sorts of different ways to get these victory points. So, but this is by the wonderful Phil Walker Harding, who I did not get to meet at the show, and it's kind of makes me sad because I wanted to see if Chris is right and he only owns one sweater.
No, I think he owns multiple sweaters, just one sweater design.
Oh, one sweater design. They're all the same. So,
by the way,
yes,
I'm presenting to the chat right now the gizmo.
That is the dispenser that your marbles will come out of. Sometimes the marbles will go below the little dispenser, and it's kind of annoying.
Oh, okay.
So
it's not perfect.
Not perfect, but a little bit of duct tape will fix anything. So,
gotcha.
But I really enjoyed it. And I was kind of surprised. I wasn't really expecting this to be the hit so far, but so far it has been.
Nice.
All gamers love engine building, and it really is engine building it.
It is.
It's very.
The complaint I've heard people say is it starts out too slow, which I don't understand. I think you want an engine builder to start out slow, don't you? You want to see what you're doing. You don't want to start with like these preconceived things or things that are out there already to do.
So I'm going to give you 2 examples of games that people have played with me where they complained that the engine started out too slow. And maybe you can help address that. The first one was Altiplano, where people felt like it took too long to get your bag up to the point where it was actually doing something you wanted to do.
Yeah, that game just took too long in general.
See, and I like it, but then again, I like longer games. That's
I know.
So, yep. And then the second one is Noria, because Noria, I've heard complaints that everybody's wheels are like, you can do something with it in the beginning, but
yeah,
it takes too long to get to the point where it's actually rocking and rolling.
The problem we had with, or I won't speak for Chris, the problem I had with Noria is that once you get your wheel going, you're done. And that's usually about halfway through the game. And it kind of loses its, it kind of loses its, it just kind of loses its sense of fun.
Okay. So I'm really not. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's what that seemed like. But yeah, I don't get the complaint that it starts out too slow, because when you're building an engine, you want to start out slow. You want to see it built. So, to me at least, and it's not a long game. It's 30 minutes tops.
Sure.
Unless you get some weird kind of wonky things going on.
It's even less if you play with Chad Roberts, and he gets like 1 million points compared to the rest of the table.
But that game took us a while. But I think it just took us a bit to figure out what we needed to do, and then we were all just a little bit behind Chad. So
why do I feel like every question is going to end up with it? But then we played with Chad, and that broke all the things, and we got a weird. I feel like this is just going to be a recurring theme. Thanks, Chad.
Chad was awesome, and we owe Chad a thanks. So
Chad's always awesome. Can we back up to before you started talking about gizmos and address the elephant in the room that Netter so kindly pointed out in the chat, which is 29 new games? Holy crap!
Yeah, 29. And I didn't have the most in the car, so we can stop right there.
I barely fit in the back seat with all their games. It wasn't me. I only bought 14.
Only 14. Piece of candy.
I posted a picture on Twitter. I think I said that the back seat was 90%. The back of the car was 90% games, 5% Chris, and 5% other riffraff. So
all I want to know is why you didn't take an amazing picture of that.
I did.
Oh,
it's all on Twitter somewhere, I think.
All right. Well, if you find it, screen share it, because I want to see this.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't even see Chris, so
that's what I'm saying. That's half the point. So. All right.
But then again, Chris basically slept from the Indiana border to somewhere around Kingdom City, Missouri. So
only waking up to grump about Machikoro Legacy.
Oh, yeah. Good God! Don't get us started on that.
Oh no, we're going to have a conversation about that in the After Dark. That's for sure. All right.
Why are we wasting our energy talking about it, let alone wasting energy to have it decided?
Because I will have you know that I'm actually a little bit looking forward to it. A little bit. Not a lot, but a little
Fine.
bit. All right. So let's go to our misses that besides Machikoro Legacy, because I don't think that counts.
No.
All right.
It does not count.
So since you're in Grumpy Pants mode, we'll start the misses with you, Brandon.
What was I going to even say? I'm going to say Orbis. And it wasn't even for sale there. It was in the BGG Hot Games room. We played it. And Orbis. It's coming from Space Cowboys, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, and it's a really pretty game, and it's tiling, which I like, and it's got all these other things going on, some resource management, fun stuff, but it just seemed empty.
It's one of these micro movement games. You only really get 15 decisions over the course of the game, and those 15 decisions add up to a meaningful difference at the end. But this one felt, unlike a lot of the other micro games, the Splendor types, this felt pretty long, and it felt a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, and I will say it felt long, partially because we did quit halfway through it, and we went and got food. But other than that, I think it just went kind of long also because we ended up being resource starved there at the end, where we ran out of a certain color resource that you needed to do things and just couldn't do it. So it just kind of prolonged the game a little bit.
Gotcha. you said something a second ago here, and now I'm drawing a blank because this is going to be one of those nights. Oh my goodness, what did you say about Orbis before the resource and the playing too long, or the taking a break? Tiling.
It's micro movements.
Micro movements.
There we go. Thank you. That's the one. The micro movements. Thanks. So I was thinking about this, and I've heard a lot of. There are a number of games that exist in the world where you only do X number of actions, and you have to make those actions count. And it seems like that's a little bit of a rift in gamerdom, right? Some people view that as a positive, where everything that you do is a really big deal. And some people view that as a negative, that you don't have a chance to fix something if something goes wrong. And the game that I was thinking of when you described that is one of my all-time favorites, is Dungeon Lords. That is a game that gets that same tag because you only play, like 12 actions per year and then 2 years or something like that. And that's the entire game. So you take 24 actions all game.
Yeah.
And if you get screwed, which is very possible in that game because that's half the point because you're playing against the other players. I've always seen that as a feature, not a bug. In this game, it's a bug.
I don't know if it's a bug. I just don't think it added up to being anything fun.
The problem is if you only get 15 movements or 15 turns,
sure.
If you feel like you're screwed at one of them because like the card you needed didn't come out, or there just weren't enough resources out there, then that's really kind of devastating. So it feels like you're like on turn 6 and you're like, well, this is no longer a game I can win. So, and we only played it once, so maybe it's not that way, but it did feel that way.
Gotcha. Okay, so bearing in mind that is a very much a first impression from one play, it feels like it might have some issues for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And I think Ben in the chat says Brandon does like take that mechanics. He's very much an in-your-face kind of gamer.
I do. Yeah.
And I don't think this is as much take that as
this is not. This is strictly denial if you're going to do anything.
Right. Gotcha. All right. So that was Orbis from
Orbis.
Space Cowboys. Got it.
Yep.
All right. And again, like I said, I'm trying really hard to keep up with the links. Chris, what is your miss?
So I have to qualify this and say I actually enjoyed the game, but I still consider it a miss because it's just grossly unnecessary. This is Patchwork Express, and the problem is it shortens like 5 minutes off of Patchwork, which why not just play the real game? But so I like Patchwork, and I played Patchwork Express with my mom actually a couple times on Saturday when I got back home, and she liked it too. But it's instead of, I think it's a 9x9 grid, this is a 7x7 grid. And that's the big difference, is it's just shorter and faster. But my favorite part of Patchwork was always what I called button economics. You were sort of, setting yourself up for future button income because the buttons are the points. And in this one, because it is a shorter game, you just don't get as much of that. So that sort of engine building side is not as present. And like I said, if you've got the extra 5 minutes, why not just play Patchwork? So, I mean, I think they needed to change something.
Gotcha. There isn't enough of a difference between this and the original game to warrant the second version.
Yeah, and I don't know why somebody like me would own two of that, like both copies. So, I mean, I actually think I might keep this one just because my mom she's like, it's so much better, and I'm like, I don't know why you think that, but she liked it better. I think it was the bigger pieces. I actually think she just liked the larger, chunkier pieces.
Wait. Can you hold that up for a second? And do you have regular Patchwork near you?
I don't, unfortunately.
It's a Patchwork Express. The shorter game is in a bigger box, isn't it?
No, it's the same size box.
Is it? Okay, it looks like a bigger box.
But the pieces are substantially
bigger. Are bigger. Yes.
Dear Lord. Okay.
Yeah. There's no 2x2 and one of the different things it does is you put there's a certain set of tiles you put out at the beginning. And then once you're down to 5 of those, then you bring out some other tiles. And those other tiles are the ones that you're going to fit into spaces that you've created that need to be fit in. So it's a natural thing. But it seems kind of gimme-ish. It's like, oh, well, here's these now. Go ahead and finish your quilt. Have your 2 or 4 negative points at the end of the game and have fun. That's really what it feels like. Okay. Gabby liked it because it plays significantly faster for us than Patchwork does. Patchwork's a 20 to 30 minute game for us. We played this in about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I would say for us it was 15 versus 20.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So this might be a matter of just your play styles.
Yeah.
Like your play style isn't changing. Like the game doesn't change your play style enough to change your play time a bit, Chris. It's what it sounds like a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, and like I said, I really just missed that extra button income. Like I actually really like that part of Patchwork. Otherwise, like without that, you might as well just play. And these are fine games, but Indian Summer or one of the other ones that Roseburg has done with Polyominoes.
Yeah, it really felt anticlimactic when you look at the scores at the end, and it's like 6-1 or 6-2, and it's just not that fun. You know, it's completely superfluous, and you're playing the game the same way, but the scores just.
I mean, total side note, I've always sort of had an issue with how Patchwork wants you to score anyway, because that is one of the only games in the world where it feels like high score wins, and the scores could very easily be like -6 to -2.
Yeah.
And good job, me. It's like a game about who can suck the least, or at least that's how it.
I love that, but your scores also could be upwards of 30 to 40 points. It just depends on how you play it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's fine. I just mean
I don't see you scoring that much.
Maybe this might just be yet another one of those games that I'm just wretched at, and it would not surprise me. I don't feel like I've ever scored 30 or 40 points, or maybe even seen anybody do that. So
yeah. Yep.
Okay, so your miss is, what was it again? Thank you, Patchwork Express. Got it.
Patchwork Express. Right. I was seriously thought maybe Forbidden Sky was going to come out here, but Chris spared it, so. I didn't enjoy our one play of it, but I chalked that up to the environment and then being a quick learn and run through. So,
a
horrible failure.
Yeah, I played it 2 more times. I've played Forbidden Sky 3 times total. I've already traded it away.
Okay.
So. Wow, that's usually not a good sign.
No.
Gotcha. All right, so now let's talk about dark horses. My definition for a dark horse when it comes to a release like this is a game that you think maybe nobody was expecting to be good and ended up blowing everybody out of the water. I'm speaking in hyperbole here, but something where maybe expectations were low or non-existent and it ended up being a success. So, Chris, how about we'll start with you for this one?
Okay, so at this point in my gaming life, I am pretty jaded. And in particular, I'm jaded about trick-taking games. And I've played more than 100 different designer trick-taking games in my life, and it really takes something to impress me. So when I heard about this trick-taking game where the cards faced outward, I was expecting something different, but not something good. It was good. It's called Pikoko. You can see everybody else's cards, but not your own. You play the cards of the player to your left. It was.
How does one spell this so that way I can post the link?
Oh, it is a Pikoko, Pikoko. And it's extremely beautiful. It's probably I'm probably speaking in hyperbole here, but it's got to be one of the 5 most beautiful trick-taking games I've played.
It is. I mean, especially when the cards are all fanned out for everybody to see.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like a peacock.
Everybody gets a little a card holder, and it is literally a little peacock, and then you put the cards and they form the peacock's feathers at the top. And so
that's cool.
It's very cool. And I liked it. We played it at Gen Con. I didn't play it yesterday, but I taught it to a group and then watched them play it. And they really liked it. And so I'm pretty impressed. There are a couple of things that are kind of wonky about it. I'm never going to be passionate about this game. It's a betting game. So you bet on how many tricks everybody around the table is going to take. Every single player, you bet on them. And you can play these cards that let you evaluate your certainty of your bets. And if you are really certain, then you play that card in front of that player. Well, the problem is the person that you're the most certain of is always the player who you're playing their cards. So because you play cards of other players, you should always, I think, just play that card on them and then go on from there, which that doesn't seem like much of a game mechanic if you don't really have much of a choice. But otherwise, it's a pretty cool trick-taking game, and a lot of the pieces mesh together quite nicely.
Yep.
Nice. I like the idea of a game that is a gimmick because, let's face it, this feels like a gimmick, right? Like it's a game, but we're playing the cards backwards, and it feels like you feel like there was a corporate meeting somewhere along the way with that's where the conversation started. Can we design a game where we hold the cards back, or whatever? or design trick-taking Hanabi or something along those lines. And it's nice when it surprises you and the gimmick ends up actually working and being something kind of cool.
And I will say, I thought wrongly that it would have more of a deduction aspect. I thought I would try to figure out my cards. But because there are so many cards out of any given hand, because it's not a perfect information trick-taking game, there's a whole deck that's sort of set off the side. You just get dealt 8 cards each, not all of the cards.
Okay.
Because it's not perfect information, it's kind of, the deduction piece is not there at all. So that was kind of disappointing. I was sort of hoping that would be there, but it still worked. It really worked really well as a trick-taking game, and I'll happily play it in the future.
Gotcha. I'm once again going to share. That's a picture from BGG of it in play for those of you that aren't actually clicking the link. So that is really cool.
Gonna put a link in there also for the designer diary who kind of talks about it. And basically he did design it in a way that he just wanted a trick-taking game where he didn't see his cards. And he wanted to try it that way. So and he thought, if Hanabi can do it, I can do it.
He did the exact same thing that I said. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it when I'm actually right. That never happens.
But it is a cool game, and I recommend it. I mean, these days, I like less than a quarter of the trick-taking games I play. So the fact that I like this one, it should say something about it.
Yeah, and Chad kind of points out that he played the +1 because when your confidence cards, you also could just not have any confidence in anybody. You could just play +1, and it's just 1 point for yourself automatically. That's what I do when I've played it so far. It's either I bet on the hand that I'm playing or I +1 it. Gotcha. It's not really all that exciting for that part, but the gameplay is fun. It's a lot of fun.
And really, I just realized you guys are just looking at me staring intently at the screen. I think that at the end of the day, as long as the gameplay itself is fun, you can pick apart the other halves if you need to. Yeah. But as long as you're having a good time doing whatever the thing is that you're doing, that's really all that counts.
And Chad had a lot of fun really screwing us over too with this one, because he basically played. He would bet one. He would bet 1 on John every time, and that's the hand that he controlled, and that's what John would pull. It was really quite good that he could do it, but I mean, when you could see everybody else's except your cards, 3/4 of the information. So,
yeah, we had a lot of laugh out loud moments at this actually, which is not a phrase I normally use with trick taking, but we had a lot of joyous moments. So.
Yep, nice. Paul in the chat is saying that the backs of the cards are cool. Help align the cards, and I think that's interesting.
Yeah, you got to keep that eye there, and you could just that everybody can see it as long as you can see all the eyes.
See, it looks like a peacock.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks exactly like what it's supposed to look like from a thematic standpoint, which is a nice change. That's very cool. I like it when components serve gameplay rather than just being sort of design wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is why I will only play Hanabi with the tiles as an example, because the cards, all you do is end up with hand strain after 15 minutes. But when you play with the chunky tiles, right now you have a thing where you can just sit there and think about the game.
But those chunky tiles hurt when people throw them at you. So,
well, suck less, and then people won't throw tiles. That's what I would say.
Have less insider. Yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
yeah, there you go. Brandon,
I struggled with this. I don't know that I have a dark horse or whatever, so I'm just going to go with tags, which we've played twice now, and I absolutely loved it. Basically, what tags is a trivia / party kind of game, basically, where you have tags that are the cards, and the tags will have, across one row, they will have, I think there's 5 subjects. We'll say like Africa, or it'll say like Europe, or things like that. And down the other side, it'll have letters or, pieces of letters like TH, or it must contain TH. And then in the middle there, where all these intersect, you just drop some big giant marbles. So apparently I love marbles in games. So you drop big giant marbles in there, and they kind of go into these little spots. And so when you start the timer, this is all real time, by the way, and it's a 15-second timer. You have to name as many things, or you try to name as many things as possible in those categories with those letters. And you take the marble that coincides with that. So some marbles are worth 3 points, some are worth 2, some are worth 1. That's just the way they're laid out, and it's all random out there. And so you do that for 15 seconds, and then it goes to the next person, they get 15 seconds, then it goes to the next person, they get 15 seconds, and so around the turn until nobody can name anything. Add up your points, do that 3 times. It's a lot of fun. And I got smoked in it the other night. Just absolutely stomped. But it was a lot of fun. This is a kind of party trivia game done right, I think.
Now, if my memory serves me, we played that when the game Dude was being played next.
Yes, we did when the game Dude was being played, which I still regret. That's my one regret I didn't get to play. So
I don't regret it at all.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to turn on my sarcasm meter to figure out whether he actually regrets not playing a game called Dude.
I do regret playing it. Everybody was having a good time playing it, and I still don't know what the object of the game is, other than to say "dude" in different voices.
I do not know any of the mechanics except when you have a group of like 6 or 7 people all saying it very loudly at the table. It is simultaneously funny for the first 15 seconds.
And then you want to murder everybody for like
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure Chad heard it plenty in the hot games room. But.
Especially when you're trying to come up with a word associated with Africa that starts with the letter F. I just couldn't think of one. And I'm like, what African country starts with F? And so I just couldn't think of one. And I'm like, but I
could have just said flamingos and we would have given it to him.
That's South America, you crazy person.
No,
but
they're in Africa too.
No, they're not.
I don't know. We're not going to have this argument now. You're probably right.
So I'm gonna read this to you off of BGG.
Oh, are we on Dude now?
It says.
So we're just totally ignoring my dark horse. We're just going to Dude.
We're not totally ignoring it. You brought up this ridiculous game, so now we have to talk about it for a second. The goal is to quickly find matches for as many of your cards as you can. To play, you say the word Dude as you think it should be said based on how it appears on your card. At the same time, listen to how the other players are saying the word Dude. Try to figure out whether you have the same card as another player is the essence of Dude. So it's basically just Dude.
Yeah.
I don't often admit to being wrong, but I'll admit to being wrong to 2 things in the last 2 minutes. First of all, there are flamingos in Africa. And and second of all, now that you've described that game to me, it sounds pretty fun.
Exactly. I wanted to play it, and I was going to ask Bruce for a copy of it when I went by and talked to him at North Star, but he was swamped, and so I just kind of walked away and forgot to go back. So I'll email Bruce, and we'll get us a copy here to play. I really want to play it with Bruce because I think Bruce would be a fantastic person to play Dude.
Okay,
with.
but that's not fair, right? Like, I mean, we're talking about Bruce Vogue. Party games are sort of his thing. That's sort of what he does. Like, he may or may not have had an entire podcast about them for a very long time.
Now that you described it, I actually kind of super want to play it.
Yeah, we'll get a copy of Dude. We'll play it.
Yeah.
Dude. All right. So, but now because you pouted, we will back up to your actual Dark Horse game.
No, that's fine. I really just, it's from, what is the name of the company? Is it Heidelberg?
Or no, that's a city. Never mind.
That's
wrong.
Tags.
It's Tags. I think it's Heidelberg.
It's Heidelberg.
Yeah, Heidelberg. But this is a new imprint for Asmodee.
Okay.
They had this in another game. I didn't pick up the other one. I picked this one up because I thought it sounded fun. So
I will. So I'll say 3 quick things about it. 1, it is kind of fun. 2, if you like me, do not like real-time games, this will annoy you.
Yeah.
And 3, it is extremely well produced for what it is. I mean, it is a very pretty game. The box is
almost cool. It's another linen finish box.
Well, but the box, it has like this weird tray that the insert is part of the game, and it's really cool.
The box is everything. Yeah, it all sits in there. It basically how everything is organized. You can just sit there and play. So
nice. All right, we are going to go on to your wild card entry. So these are the one game that you just want to talk about that you feel strongly about. And even though I was not at Gen Con, we did not do our normal first segment of the show, which is what have we been playing lately. So I'm going to throw in one thing here that I feel very strongly about. And I just want to interrupt for just a minute because I feel like all I am is just being dumb and asking questions tonight. The one thing I want to talk about is the Sentinels of the Multiverse Ultimate Collector's Case. Mine arrived on Friday, I believe it was, okay? This is a box that it was 2 years late, I think, and I've grumped about this for a while, that Greater Than Games was ridiculously late on fulfilling their Kickstarter. And I was one of the blessed first 25% of the collector's box people that got theirs. There are a lot of people that still don't have theirs, but somehow I happened to be in the first container, so I got mine. This box is 12 pounds before you put anything in it. The box itself, all by its little lonesome, is at 12 pounds. and it is too wide to fit in a Kallax cube section of your shelving. So that makes it bigger than Gloomhaven, just so we're clear, because the Gloomhaven box does fit in one Kallax. This is wider than any one section of your Kallax and deeper by a factor of maybe 4 inches than the entirety of your shelf. So it sticks out about that far, even when up on top of the shelf, because that's the only place you can put it. With everything in there, if you own everything and you sleeve your cards, there have been a couple users that have weighed their copy to see what happened, and it weighs in at a little over 35 pounds once you have the entire game in said 12-pound box, which officially makes it the least portable card game, as far as I can tell, in the history of card games. And I don't know why I bought it. It looked really neat on my shelf, and it's never going to go anywhere else. That is a game that will now never travel for the remainder of my time upon this planet, because I am definitely not going to dig things out of this damn box and put them into another box to take them to go play at somebody else's house. So now Sentinels of the Multiverse is officially an at my house only game for the remainder of my time owning it in the world. I'm just going to throw that out there. You can draw your own conclusions.
Is it going to stay there, or is it going to go?
There's a very real chance that it will not move with me when I move. There is a very real chance that I will sell it the next time I have to pack up all my crap and go somewhere. And I will sell it to somebody that might promise to sell it back to me if I ever find a forever home. It's stupid. Like, it's cool, but it's stupid. So that is the only thing I want to review today, is the stupid box. And I'll talk about something else in After Dark. I'll do one other game I played.
So at this point, don't most people just play Sentinels as the app?
I hate the app.
Oh.
And in general, let's back up and remember that I don't like app versions of board games in general. And the reason for that is because there is, in the app, they have to conserve real estate, right? Like, they have to conserve screen space all the time. So you are never able to look at all of the information simultaneously and just easily glance from this to that to this to that. You are constantly having to gesture and say, now I want to look at this, now I want to look at that, now I want to close this window so I can open this window so I can look at these things. And I find that extra cognitive load trying to get to all the information way too tedious. Sentinels of the Multiverse is that to the nth power, because now you have to read every single card. There are no shortcuts, right? So I cannot play the app. I own the app. I bought the season pass and I can't play it. Okay. So this is the only way I will play it is in cardboard format. But for lots of folks, you're probably right, just not for me. So there you go. All right, I tried to stall for a couple minutes to give you guys time to think of a wild card. Chris, we'll start with you. What's your wild card? A game that you feel passionate about one way or the other.
Okay, so I'm a little bit cheating. I played this game a few months ago, but I will be playing it a lot over the next few months. This is not the game. This is Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, the diary from the game. I have to say, I think this is the coolest. Now, I'm a nerdy guy. I love leather-bound books, but this is literally a leather-bound, gold edge, like diary that the moderator uses and records like the history of the plays. And at the end, it's like it says the diary and the contents thereof comprise the true history of this village and the lives of its occupants. So I played a couple chapters of this a few months ago, and I am obsessed with this game. And I rated it a 9 on Board Game Geek, and then when I actually physically got the chance to see the final version, I upped it to a 10. This is something that I am probably just going to be obsessed with over the next few months. And I feel bad for Brandon for that, because he's going to be playing 15 games of Werewolf.
And I like Werewolf if it's run by a good narrator.
And here's the thing with this: I don't think a moderator could really easily screw that up. But it's such a I know that I'm going to be the moderator, so I've actually been reading through the chapters I haven't played to see like how to moderate them, and it's just extremely well laid out. So I think that's probably in the long term going to be my favorite game from Gen Con 2018. I know a lot of people who probably listen to the show are not social deduction fans like I am. Social deduction is probably my favorite game genre at this point. But my God, it's a good game, and it's got beautiful components, and I really have to give props to Ted Alspach and Rob Daviau for their work on this.
So I got to tell you, I was at the Gaming Hoopla and a couple other conventions. I was Mr. Werewolf guy for a long time. And then when Two Rooms and a Boom came out, it sort of murdered Werewolf for me, because you could get a really cool social deduction game knocked out in a half an hour and get 3 or 4 games of it. Whereas a game of Werewolf will very often take an hour or 2 hours with player elimination. So then people are stuck. And if the moderator's good, those people might sit and watch. But in general, it can really be rough over long periods of time. This I want to play so bad it hurts. Like, this is, I want this to be a thing.
So run it at 5C, right?
Yeah, I mean, I am probably going to end up running, I would guess, 3 or 4 campaigns over the next few months. So,
okay. All right.
And I'm the guy who likes moderating Werewolf even more than playing it. So
yeah, I enjoy moderating too. In this case, I'm just gonna, fair warning, I'm willing to shank someone to get in on one of those games. So just throwing that out there. You keep that in the back of your head.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you don't even have to play the whole campaign. If you just play one chapter, which is 3 consecutive games, that's a lot of fun. So, chapter 3, like, I could see myself playing chapter 3 over and over again for the rest of my life. If I have a night where I'm going to play 3 games of Werewolf, I'd rather just do this.
That's very cool. That's very cool. All right, Brandon, wild card.
I don't have anything I feel really passionate about that came out, and that's kind of weird.
That makes me sad. You bought 29 games, and
I think there's a lot of good games out there.
Okay.
Yeah, Lost Cities Rivals will be a lot of fun, but you know, we've all played Lost Cities, and this does a little twist to it.
So that's 2.
Railroad Inc., I think, maybe as close as we get for something that I'm kind of excited about, just because you know how we got all excited about, how do we pronounce it? It's Guns Schon Klaver.
We even had a native German speaker explain this to us, and you can't remember?
I still can't do it right.
I can't either.
So we got all excited about guns because it did something different with Roll and Write, and it kind of made these those combo things that are really fun to do, and it kind of made it feel gamey, right? And this kind of takes it up even more.
Which one is this again? Help me.
It's called Railroad Inc. You can get it in 2 different versions. It doesn't matter which one. The only difference is 2 different expansions in 2 different boxes. So what it is think if you've played Avenue or Kokoro, the Avenue of the thing of whatever it is, I forget what the theme of that one is. It's basically kind of a route building game, and those games use cards to flip, right? So you flip one card and you have to draw that piece of route somewhere on your board, or excuse me, on your route thing there, on your paper. This one, you have dice to do it, and you're rolling at least 4 dice. With the expansions, you can roll up to 8, I think is what it is. And so you're rolling 4, and you have to manage those 4 routes, those 4 things that could be trains, like a train crossing, if Chris can show them, or they could be like a road with a station and then a train, like those routes like that. And so what you're doing is you have to manage all 4 of these kind of things, and you're continually wanting to make routes to get to the exits. And you also want those routes to go through the middle, because if they go through the middle, they're worth extra points there as well. But you don't want dead ends, of course, because dead ends are negative points.
Sure.
And this is just a really thinky, kind of brain burner.
It is
really good roll and write.
It is thinky, and it causes people to have AP, but the thing is, you're all having AP at the same time.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter. And here's something that I think is really cool, and that is you can play as many copies as you have of the game.
Yeah, so we have 4 copies now.
Yeah, so we have 4 copies between us. So at 5C, we will probably arrange a 24-person game of Railroad Inc.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between the blue copies, I'm just not, if Brandon, correct me if you already said this, the blue copies and the red copies each have the same base game.
Yeah.
But they have different expansions.
Yep, different expansions in each of them. Yeah.
Like, so it's worth owning both of them.
Yeah, the blue is water-based. I don't know if they play any differently. I haven't really looked at the rules. They do? Okay. Yeah. The blue is water-based. The red is fire-based. It's like volcanoes or meteors or something like that, I think. We still haven't played with them. I played blue and red, but we played them both base. So,
gotcha.
But it's really kind of exciting. I really loathed most of the roller rights that came up to a certain point. I thought they were just kind of blah. Roll dice, do things, you're done. Guns kind of changed that a little bit. Where you're thinking. Sorry, I'm trying to say guns.
You're going to say it wrong and then right every
yes,
time. Now.
I'm trying to say it. Guns kind of changed that, and it made you think a little bit because it had those little combo points where you wanted to do this, to do this, to do this, and it got you thinking a little bit more than say the Quicks or these other games like that. Railroad Inc. just kind of takes it up like 2 notches, I think.
Okay.
To make it a good thinky, it makes it a really good game, quite honestly.
Cool. I had an experience last week where my friend Dan, who actually is in the chat once in a while. I don't know if Dan's here. Dan, if you're here, say something. Dan was over playing games with me, and I said, and we had like half an hour, 45 minutes before he needed to go home, and I pulled out Gans, whatever, however it's no,
pronounce it like guns.
It's Gans now, damn it. I'm just going to say it wrong.
Gans Sean Clever.
So I'm going to be Gans Sean Clever. Anyway,
Cleaver. No, we have to say it Cleaver.
Cleaver. There we go. I pulled that out, and the first thing Dan said to me was, "Oh, I hate rolling rights, Bill." And I'm like, "I know. Just shut up and play this. Trust me. Try it once, and if you hate it, we'll never play it again."
Yeah.
And that has been the refrain for me teaching that game over and over again. People start off coming into it with a presupposition on what this game is going to be because it's a roll and write, because they've only played Quicks or maybe St. Malo or a couple other.
To be fair, I've not played St. Malo, and I've heard good things about it too.
But
it came too early, I think, in the roll and write kind of thing to actually catch on.
For sure. But guns, Gans, Carns, whatever the hell it is, I think breaks that mold in an interesting way that gets people engaged again.
It does.
I wonder if this one will go too far, but I really want to try it.
I hope it goes too far, and I hope the next ones go even further.
Oh, no, because there's a point, right, when you don't need Wealth of Nations, the roll and write. Right? You know what I mean? Like, you don't need a 6-hour roll and write that's all about making.
No, to an extent, you have to, you have to design within the confines of what people expect from a roll and write. Yes, but that doesn't say that you can't do interesting and new things to kind of twist the genre. And make them.
No, I don't have a problem with twisting it. I'm talking about ramping up the complexity. Yeah. At some point, we're going to get to a diminishing return.
Well, you can ramp up the complexity and still stick with that.
So I have a question for the group, because I would really love everybody's opinion, because I want to see if I'm on an island. Would you rather have dry erase boards like this or that big, thick pad of paper and pens?
I like the dry erase here. I'll chime in real quick. I like the dry erase boards with this, but my hand will smudge them. And
that's me too. It's such a problem. I'd rather have the pen.
I like the reusability better, but
I want a pad that's real thick, and I want the company that prints the game to sell replacement pads for a reasonable price later on down the road.
Yeah, so I know. So back when Stronghold did Code 777, they sold the replacement pads pretty cheap, and I loved that. I mean, they could have easily, I think, they could have put in the box a dry erase, but it's much better to have the pad and paper. So,
for me, like, the biggest problem that St. Malo has, as a great example, is that you smudge the board once and you're screwed. Like, if you bump, it has almost the Terraforming Mars effect, right? Where you can accidentally, obviously it's easier to not smudge a dry erase board than it is to not accidentally bump a table. But it's very easy to end up with a miscolored hand 10 minutes into your game of St. Malo, and then sit there and all you're doing is carefully erasing this part so you can redraw all this nonsense. It's a pain in the butt. I'd much rather have, although it does depend on the game. So for like Quicks, dry erase is fine because I don't care. Game's gonna be over 9 minutes, right? Like, if I take a game of Quicks, who gives a crap, But if it's a game, I dry erase with Guns, Schern, Cleave, or whatever.
Hey, we're getting there.
I know. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna make it worse each time.
Guns Sean Clever.
Yeah, that.
Clever.
Sure. Look, it's not gonna get any better. Just don't try. That one? I had a big size piece of paper in page protectors, and I still have them, and I still don't use them. I just pull pieces of paper off the pad and hand out little markers and go, baby, go. I would just rather have that.
Here's what I would say. If you give somebody the paper, they can easily make a laminated copy.
Yep, which is what Netters suggested in the chat.
Yep. But that's still dry erase, and you're still going to smudge, but yeah.
Sure. But that's my point. Let us make that decision by giving us the pad first, and we can laminate the damn things or stick them in a page protector, right? Like if you make it so it's only dry erase, then we have no choice.
I mean, in the end, I'm going to complain no matter what. On one hand, I hate the depleting stack of score sheets, and on this hand, my fat hand smudges the thing. So it's no win.
And that's where the second half comes in, right? Because the second half is and make that pad available on your store, right? Just order extra pads and sell them. You will make your money, especially off of a game that it becomes a really big hit by Guns, whatever. I'm just going to make it worse every time.
Watching, he'll probably slap us around a little bit.
So yes, the Cubist, killing trees since 2017. I'm not the one killing trees. I am just making use of their corpses, Chad. So there. That's all.
Yeah. I've gone through my pad for Gons pretty much. It's got to be close to. I maybe have a quarter of them left. So.
I'm going to say that.
And then you use those back score sheets like for half. So yeah.
Sure. Now I will say this: Ben in the chat has a good point. I think the compromise here is there should be score sheet apps for a lot of these games. I don't want the game to play on the app, but an app that duplicates the score sheet, I'm fine with. Right? Like I think that's a good use for the real estate of a smartphone. I could very much handle a Gons scoring app on my phone. That'd be great. I have no problem with that. And I think that would be, although I think that would be, there are some games that would not work for. Like I would not want to play St. Malo on an app because there are like 12 different icons you have to be able to write in any given thing. And the drop-down menu by itself would be a pain in the ass. So I think that would not work. So,
yeah.
All right. So that's our game reviews. I want to quickly, because we've spent a lot of time on this, which we knew we were going to do anyway. But I want to now talk about the convention as a whole. I haven't gotten to go to Gen Con. I don't think I've been now since 2014. I think was the last time I went. Maybe earlier than that. I don't remember. It's been a few years. And part of the reason is because, for me, Gen Con is just too damn big. There's too many people. There's too many bodies crushed into too small of a space. But this year, they took over the entire Lucas Oil Stadium, right?
Did that last year?
And last year. Okay, so last year and this year, they took over the whole stadium. So does Gen Con work again? Like, are we back to the point where it's reasonable, the number of people?
No. I mean, this is my least favorite convention. Now, I'm going to say that I had a great time this year, and I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to Chad Roberts. And the BGG Hot Games Room is a lifesaver. It is for people who want to go play games. The BGG Hot Games Room is really the way to do it, or really any of the opening gaming spaces. But it seemed less crowded this year than last year. That said, the press release today said there were more people there this year. I don't know. To me, it's really expensive. Gen Con is phenomenally expensive. I've had years where it cost me more to go to Gen Con than it cost me to go to Essen. And so that bothers me. And like the badge is expensive. You have to pay for all of the events. And it's out of control. So,
yeah, it felt open compared to years past. And I don't know if that was people. We were there on Thursday and Friday, probably the two least attended days, right?
Those are definitely the two least attended days historically.
But I mean, even the will call line was an hour and a half long on Wednesday night.
Part of it may have been that none of the game companies seemed to get their games there in time, so maybe there was extra floor space.
I feel like that's a nonstop issue at conventions, though, right? Is anytime somebody's trying to debut something, there's always a struggle.
There were struggles. We'll say that.
I'm just saying. I feel like this is not anything new. In the industry, like we always have publishers and struggles.
Yeah.
Chat room, I want to hear from you on this particular issue, on what you think about Gen Con. We've had a couple people sound off already, like Paul will never go to Gen Con. I'm pretty much right there with you, but that's.
I think Gen Con is fine if we do it like we did. We did 2 days, get in, get out, come home. There's no need to stay for 4 days. It's maybe not a need for that second day, but
well, and I think that depends on why you're going, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there are certain parts of Gen Con. Like, I don't know if they still do the costume contest on Saturday, but that is a spectacle in and of itself. And cosplayers, Saturday is going to be their best day. Like, that's just going to be the day they're going to want to be there, as an example. I know that the LARPers, and a lot of it is going to be, do you want to play in scheduled events, which is catering more to the role-playing game side of things, I think, and the LARP side than board game side.
Yeah, they had their demo area is just huge for board games as well, and we never ventured into it to do anything. But
I get a lot of crap for saying this, and a lot of people push back on this. Gen Con to me does not feel like a board game convention; it feels like an RPG convention.
Well, because it wasn't originally a board game convention. That's not where its roots are.
And while the majority of floor space in the exhibit hall is board games, I think most of the events and most of the space for the convention in its entirety is still RPG. And so in terms of board game conventions, it's just not what it's geared towards. So
yeah, I think that's 100% accurate. I think that Gen Con, like, there are board game specific conventions out there. We've talked about a bunch of them on the show over and over and over again. BGG and Geekway are the two biggest ones that leap to mind, I would argue. There's a lot of other smaller ones floating around out there. Even Origins, you almost wants to be a bigger board game thing, even though they have like 3 horrible death tables that you can actually sit and play games at anywhere in the hall. But Gen Con has never pretended to be a board gaming convention. It is a gaming convention. It wants to be everything to everyone, which is why I think it gets 60,000 people, right? Because it's where the RPG players go. It's where your TCG players go. It's where your board gamers go. It's about, all of these other genres of games. Hell, I mean, computer gaming used to have a pretty sizable footprint at Gen Con. I don't know if it still does, or if that sort of meandered over into like PAX and other conventions like that. But I mean, it's always been a convention all about all facets of gaming.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's ever been just for
it's a cool event, but it really is. I mean, like a hotel room out in the burbs for us was, we got a cheaper room, but you can spend $200 or $300 on a hotel room. Most years when I go to Essen, my hotel room is €90, which is around $110. So, I mean,
and the food's better.
The food's better, and I mean, if you get a cheap flight to Essen, all it takes is a cheap flight to Essen, and you have a trip to Germany that is cheaper than a trip to Gen Con. And the Gen Con strikes me. Sorry for my rant here. I tend to go on. It strikes me as very consumerism oriented, and that for some reason bothers me a little bit. I don't know. The other board game conventions seem like they are geared towards playing games, and Essen feels like a trade show, and Gen Con just feels like it's all about consumerism. And so that kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, but maybe that's just me.
So it's the buy sell convention.
Yeah, maybe it's because I didn't really have a seat in the car on the way back. But
you're just salty because there were 29 games sitting where your elbow wanted to be. Gotcha.
More like 63, but who's counting?
So
73.
So
72.
Netters said the same thing that you did in the chat. Is it's geared towards sales and not playing. I think that for board games, I agree with that. I think that if you are a role-playing gamer, I think that you will find a ton of chances to play games at Gen Con, and I think that's a great place for RPG-starved people that want to play RPGs but don't have a group. Gen Con is your jam, because you can sign up to learn a system, you can sign up to play a system you already know and love, you can do all of that kind of stuff. For board game stuff, you're looking at the BGG Hot Games Room, you're looking at the demo area, and after that, you're in open gaming, and that's about it, right? Like, there are scheduled events, but I don't feel like it doesn't feel to me from the people that I've talked to that board gamers are scheduled event junkies, right? Like, that's not what they're going to do. I don't know.
The few board game scheduled events I've gone to in the past, I used to go to a lot of tournaments. Like, half the people don't show up, and like sometimes they're kind of haphazardly run, and sometimes they're really good. I mean, I've been to quite a few really good tournaments at Gen Con, but it's hit or miss.
I will also say that if you are a miniatures gamer and you like certain styles of miniatures gaming, Gen Con's a great fit for you as well.
And
because you get the space and you get to buy the minis you don't already have. Go.
If you like jumbo games like I do, I always give points. Then Gen Con's where it's at. Like that's like the king of jumbo games. So
well, we did see Jumbo Tokyo Highway. So
yeah, we saw Jumbo Ghost Fight Treasure Hunters, and one of these days I'm going to play on that really fancy Game of Thrones map.
And then you picked up a Jumbo Queen Domino.
Yeah, a game I don't even like, but if it's jumbo, I have to have it.
Nice. Tom in the chat says, is Essen only about selling too? I would argue that Essen is about releasing. Yes, you're buying, and there are people that are doing a lot of buying there, but Essen is more about getting the games out into the world and making sure that they are seen and known and covered. So I would almost call it more of a news event than a selling event. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also Essen at least for me, I've had easier time getting a demo game in at Essen than at Gen Con.
Yeah, that's true. For sure.
So I play a lot of demo games during the day, and I count that as like open gaming. It's like, well, how game do you want to sit down and play? Whereas at Gen Con, it's a little bit harder to do that. A lot of those booths just don't have a demo area.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing to note is that we're coming at this entire thing from a very US-centric point of view. Yeah. If you are anywhere in the world that is not the US, flip the roles of those two conventions. Gen Con becomes a just seeing things convention, and Essen becomes your buying convention, because the shipping is banana pants to get stuff back to Essen, like from Essen, unless you're packing like 2 games in your existing luggage, right? Like shipping cases of games and whatever is ridiculous. So for me, Essen is the convention where I find out about the games that I'm going to play at BGG, or in this case, 5C this year. Like this is the game. The whole purpose of it is to find out what games we're going to care about in a month down the road. And that's why I think of it as more of an exposure convention than a buying convention, but for sure. All right. So we're going to, in closing, I want to review Gen Con as if it was a game, you guys. All right. So we are going to review the entirety of Gen Con 2018 on the patented Cubist rating scale. Buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it. Don't shake your head at me. We're doing the whole damn thing. Now, obviously, in this case, we're not talking about actually buying Gen Con. We're talking about paying money to go. Play it is like go part-time. Forget it is don't bother. And burn it is actively bad. So let's see. You know what, Brandon? We're going to start with you because you were shaking your head and mocking my concept.
No,
I'm just going to focus. Too late. I've already focused the screen on you. You are under the wire. I want to know.
I think Gen Con is personally a play it.
It's a play it. Okay.
You want to go, and I've been 3 times now. Only once did I do the full 4 days, and I never need to do that again. But I think it's a definitely play it and go, every now and then and enjoy it. Gen Con is an experience. It's something to see. It's really kind of mind-boggling to think that there are 65,000 somewhat like-minded people that are attending this thing that we do in our dining room or whatever on a Wednesday night. It's kind of mind-boggling to see that.
And encouraging too, I would argue.
It is somewhat encouraging, except you get some people you don't want there. But anyway, we'll go on with that later.
And you get clubbed in the head with backpacks on the regular.
Yes. But I definitely think it's a play it, and it's a definitely go there once at least.
I do think everybody should go once. I agree with that. Chris, how about you?
I'll say play it. I think I'm going to do something different next time, at the risk of scaring Brandon. I think I'm going to try to work for a booth. No, I mean that. Like, I actually think
I've thought about it too. But my God,
I think it'd be a fun experience. I mean, if nothing else, for a day or two, because right now I have 4 days where I tend not to schedule anything other than like press meetings. Yeah. And it's kind of exhausting. It's a lot of walking. Like, I feel like I should be in the exhibitor hall, but it really like wears me out. And like, I actually think so. Like Chad Roberts, I know he spent a lot of time in the hot games room, and like I was actually kind of jealous because that would be a fun way to spend 4 days.
It would.
I mean,
I'll work for Chad.
Yeah, but no, like I actually think I've never been to a convention as an exhibitor, and Bill, you have, and so maybe it's the ninth circle of hell. But
No.
but
I'll speak to that in a minute.
It seems like it would be a lot of fun to me.
Here's what I will say about going as an exhibitor. It really is dependent on the organization that you're working for and what your exhibitor experience of a convention is going to be. If you're going with a company that treats their staff well and takes care of them, you know, in the form of meals, even if they are humble, in the form of hotel rooms, and the, you know, badges are the bare minimum. If they take care of you, it's a great way to spend a convention, because you get to spend the 8 crazy hours working your butt off, but then you get to go and just chill and meet up with people and have a great time. Having said that, not every company treats their people the same way. And I would say that the bigger the company that you are working for, the better the chances are that you will have a good experience. So now that is a gross painting with a gigantic brush here, okay? Yeah. Because I know that there are some small exhibitors that treat their people amazeballs, and I know that there are some big publishers that treat their demo people like, you know, garbage and don't care about them at all. And you know, your mileage may vary. It's the only way that I went to the big conventions from 1997 through 2010. I went to both Origins and Gen Con every one of those years as only an exhibitor. And so my view of the conventions was heavily colored by that for a long, long time. And then I've only been as an attendee just for fun twice this millennium. So, I mean, to give you an idea, my perception is really skewed. But the company that I went with treated me really well and made it a really pleasant experience. I highly recommend that for sure. Like, if you already have experienced Gen Con just as a street level nerd, and now you want to like experience the other side of it, I absolutely recommend it. But I think everybody should go for the first time as just a person. Like, I don't think your first convention, your first Gen Con, you should go as an exhibitor. I think you need to experience it the hard way the first time. So, and don't take a riot shield.
Yeah,
don't take a riot shield.
I keep telling Brandon he's just gonna have to get a Punchboard Media booth, and we'll just work there all day.
That's what I said. Yeah, we can do it, and we'll just get cardboard cutouts of ourselves and do our own thing.
Oh, anyway. No, screw that. I'm going to actually sit there and be opinionated.
No, I'm going.
Be opinionated.
That's not how that
works. Like, that game's trash. Get rid of it.
This is not the Opinionated Gamers booth. This is the Punchboard Media booth.
Yeah, but I bring my sassy personality to all endeavors.
For sure. For the record, I think that the only thing that they need to do to make Gen Con better is have rental segways that people can ride around. And as soon as you do that, I think that will solve about half your problems, because
it's going to weed out a lot of the riffraff.
Exactly.
I said lockers.
That too.
Lockers would be fantastic
for sure. That's something that absolutely should exist. The problem is the logistics of getting lockers in and out of that building would be insane. So, all right, folks, that is going to wrap up our Gen Con. Don't forget, this is the first Monday of the month, so we're going to do an After Dark right after this. The event is already in the feed. And we might even get some other human beings to jump in here. I don't really know how that's going to play out yet, but we'll find out in a few minutes. So, Brandon and Chris, you're sticking around for the second half, right?
Yeah.
Outstanding. In that case, chat room, go back to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit the like button and all that fun stuff. We are a proud member of Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. See, no, I'm not letting you mumble your way through it. Damn it. We're not okay with it. Whatever. Boo. Chad, I blame you for this. This is your fault that the mumbling thing happened. So
I like the mumbling thing now.
I know you do. All right. Thumbs up this video, folks, and then mash that other button, and we will be back with the After Dark in just a few minutes. Chris and Brandon, you're awesome. Thank you very much. Everybody, in case you're not staying, have a fantastic week of gaming, and we will see you in 7. Be good.
Bye, Thomas.
Bye. I will, Chad.
Chad's going to join us.